Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Salut tout le monde. Hey everybody, Marc Dumont here with you after that game. Okay, the Habs lost, but you're all happy, right? You won it. You're looking for the draft. You got a couple goals here and there. We saw some fun stuff from Nick Suzuki, second year in a row, 20 goals. So, on that note, it was a good game, right? Good game for the loss. I know you're all getting nervous about the lottery, so let's hope that Kuzmenko has some more magic in his stick for the Vancouver Canucks. But in the meantime, we have a really, I'm excited about this one. Really great show tonight. We have one of the most exciting prospects of the Montreal Canadiens, and actually just one of the smartest guys that I've met in and around hockey. It's not that hard to look smart near me, but obviously it's a cerebral player. He brings that to the ice. So we're going to bring in Owen Beck, Montreal Canadiens prospect and 2023 World Junior gold medalists call-up. And then we're going to talk about other call-ups. It's going to be fun. I want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. Salut Noel. Hey, James. James is back. How's it going, James? And we got Daffy Prod here, Steve Easter. We're going to get to all your questions. So if you have any questions for Owen, go ahead and put those in the chat. We're going to stay respectful as per usual. And in the meantime, let's get to a quick word from our sponsors. Want to bet? You can do it with Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Hockey season's well underway, you know that. Pitchers and catchers have reported to Dundon, so baseball's coming, and obviously soccer leagues are in full swing. Are you going to bet for or against Arsenal? If you're an Arsenal fan like me, you know the smart money's against. You can bet pre-game, live in-play, a lot of prop bets. It's made by Canadians for Canadians. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. All right. Sorry. I had to take a little drink of water there to get going because I'm so excited. We're going to go ahead and bring him in. Our guest, Owen Beck from the Peterborough Petes. How's it going, buddy?
Really good. How are you?
I can't complain because I'm getting excited looking at all these prospects. Right now, Owen, Habs fans are looking to the future, and you're a big part of that future. So, it's exciting to see all these guys lining up. But before we get going, and I know you take things, slowly, you process them well, but let's be honest here. It's been a crazy year for you, right? Okay, drafted by the Habs in Montreal, development camp, you stand out. Great at the prospect tournament in Buffalo, earn an entry-level contract, back to Mississauga, called up to the World Juniors, win a gold medal, come back, big trade, play for the Habs, back to the OHL, gearing up for a playoff run. Owen, have you had a chance to breathe in the last 8 months?
Yeah, this year's been anything but slow. It's been really exciting. I really haven't had a chance to process it all and all the accomplishments that have come my way this past 8 months, as you mentioned. But like you said, we got a big playoff run coming up here, and I want to focus on that before I take a step back and look at everything that I've achieved this year.
Well, we know, and that's obviously, we want to thank you for taking time in the middle of your season. Now, it was one of the rare times where you weren't playing on a Saturday, and we're going to get to the fan questions. So everyone that has questions for Owen, go ahead and put those in the chat. But before we get going, me and Owen were talking about this before we went live on air about a certain scout. So we're going to have to give a shout out to Lauren Kelly, right, Owen? She was the first one that called it, that you were going to be a great player, right?
Yeah, no, I remember kind of perusing Twitter last year, and I definitely saw Lauren's name pop up quite a bit, in relation to my name, and she was always a very big supporter of mine, and I think we have a pretty decent relationship now, with all the support she's given me, and I just obviously really appreciate that, and yeah, so definitely a shout out to Lauren Kelly.
Yeah, Lauren is, yeah, absolutely, and she's a friend of the show, so we wanted to get her on. Right now she's busy, so unfortunately, we couldn't get her on. But okay, we're gonna go right into the questions because Owen, they're a big fan of you and what you've done. Hey, it's been incredible. You made your NHL debut. How was that? Like, before we get to the questions, how was that? Like, what did you have time to actually figure out what you were doing, or did you just kind of go with the motion?
Yeah, no, I remember my GM and my head coach in Peterborough calling me into their office after a video session. You know, what would it be, the Friday morning?
Hmm.
I remember, they were telling me, you're going to be playing in your first NHL game the very next day, and I was over the moon. I was super excited.
Right?
Then I remember, jumping out to a morning skate, just a quick little practice, got the legs moving. Then I was back to my billet house and getting packed up and getting ready to go to Ottawa. So it was definitely a bit of a whirlwind. Very very exciting time for me. And Montreal just really made it such a great experience with everything that was done and presented to me for my first NHL game. So it was quite the experience.
Yeah, the Habs do know how to do it right, but I mean, listen, it's one of those rare situations that kind of came all together perfectly. And we have a question. Oh, first of all, before Kay can't hang out with us during the whole chat. Kay is a friend of the show, so we're gonna say hi to Kay, and we're hoping that she's doing great. Médéric Rochon asks, okay, question for Owen. What did you eat before your first NHL game? Because first of all, could you eat? How was your stomach?
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I just tried to stick to a normal routine, and usually I eat like chicken, rice, and
Yeah, of
some
course.
kind of vegetable.
Yeah, chicken and pasta.
So I
Chicken and
think,
pasta. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Actually, there may have been some pasta there. They had really good selection for us. So I think it was like chicken, salad, pasta, and rice and a vegetable or something like that. So
Classic NHL food.
yeah, exactly. So
Who
that's what it was.
who greets you in this kind of a situation? Like do you just walk into the locker room and like, hey guys, I'm in the NHL now, or how does that whole process go from the time I think they sent a car to your house, right? And then they picked you up and they brought you there. So you get to the arena, you
Yeah.
get to the Palladium or whatever it's called now, Scotiabank Place. What happens then?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, had a car pick me up, and there was that whole story about me going out to dinner with Suzuki and the guys. And the next morning I remember just taking the bus to the Canadian Tire Center, going out for morning skate. And yeah, I mean, just when I got to the locker room, it was kind of just business as usual. Just made sure everything was ready. All my equipment was prepped and ready for my first NHL game. So that was a bit of a process, just getting settled and everything in such a short amount of time. But yeah, I was basically just trying to be a part of the team and make sure I was ready to perform.
Did Nick tell you anything specific during that supper, or was it just more of a like get to know the guys type of thing? Did you talk shop at all, or?
No, not really. We kind of just got to know each other, told some stories, and learned a little bit about each other and everybody who was at the table there. So it was kind of good to get my mind off, what was coming next for me the next day, and
Mhm.
kind of just get to relax a little bit.
So let's talk about Nick Suzuki because he seems, I mean, very stoic. He's about 100 years old in personality. Like he's so calm about everything, and you can see on the ice he's the type of leader that referees and coaches respect. But as a player, what's been your impression as Nick Suzuki as a leader? Because it's going to be important for him to lead this team the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. So what's your impression of Nick Suzuki?
Yeah, I think as a leader, he's definitely got what it takes to lead a successful team down the road. Montreal's a very young team, and he himself is very young, and he's gonna be a great captain going forward. As you mentioned, he's very stoic, and
Hmm.
I think he earns a lot of respect from, like you said, referees, opponents, and his teammates. So I think he's got what it takes to be a very successful captain in the NHL.
We have a question here from LT26, which might be LaDainian Tomlinson, but I'm also might be 100 years old. That might be a terrible reference. Owen, what are you looking forward to the most about playing for the Montreal Canadiens? Okay, before we start talking about the Habs, one thing we want to make it clear, Owen's still in an important race right now. There's playoffs coming up with the Peterborough Petes, so he's definitely focused on that. But we can talk a little bit about the future. What excites you the most about playing for the Habs?
I think just the whole, atmosphere within the Bell Center, the history of the team, it's been such a successful franchise over its long history, and
Mm-hmm.
just being a part of that is going to be super exciting. I can't wait to get into my first regular season game at the Bell Center. I think that atmosphere is just going to be electric, and there's so much love and support from the fans. It's such a great place to play, and I'm just really looking forward to that.
You did play at the Bell Center, although it was, preseason, probably even a little bit more than you expected. But how was that? Because I know when you look up and you see just the history, right? It's the names, the locker room, all the legends adorning in the locker room. You see Jean Béliveau, Maurice Richard, Patrick Roy. How was that making your first start in Montreal, even though it was preseason?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, the regular season is just, that next step, but the preseason was, something I just couldn't believe the atmosphere there in the Bell Center. It's such an amazing place to play. I played in a couple rinks in preseason, and by far Montreal, like the Bell Center, just takes the cake with as being the best place to play. The fans are right on
Right?
top of you. It's such an amazing atmosphere, and yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable.
It was what, a
Getting
red and
to
white
get to
game,
play.
I think, that sold out.
Yeah, that would have been my first time in the Bell Center. That was unbelievable that 21,000 fans coming out to see the prospects, and
Right?
getting to see that game, and that was such a cool experience. And then yeah, like I said, getting into preseason, as opposed to when the fans are cheering for both teams, when all the love's on one side, it's just that much cooler. So yeah, it was such an amazing place to play.
We were talking with Dave Jackson yesterday, ex NHL referee, and we're asking him if the fans ever influence it, and he said not me, but that leaves it open that the fans do have an impact there. Okay, we have a shout out from a Larissa. Do you know a Larissa by any chance? She's just saying proud of you in the chat.
Uh, I
Borieski? No, it's
might,
a
but
Boriech. Either way,
I'm
Larissa's proud of you. So you're getting shout outs there. They want to know, I asked all the prospects have prospects, and most of them have the right answer. And Michael Pizzetta will be angry if you give the wrong answer. But pineapple on pizza or what?
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
no. Owen, come on,
a big
man.
Hawaiian pizza guy. Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
that's always been my favorite type of pizza.
It is? Oh, no.
Yeah,
Jeez.
growing up, I always loved Hawaiian pizza, and obviously pineapple played a big role in that.
Jeez. Okay, well, I guess you have more value to you than just your terrible taste buds, so we're gonna let that one go for now. Okay, Trizak wants to know what is the fanny down the Ganney? Is that a thing in Port Hope? Is that a
Yeah, that is. That goes back to the Ganaraska River flooding a long time ago,
oh,
and that started a tradition of float your fanny down the Ganney. So that's when a bunch of people from Port Hope and the surrounding area kind of build little rafts almost, and
okay.
float them down the Ganaraska River, and it's a pretty big event. I remember going out to watch it. You see all the rafts go by, and even sometimes, you throw water balloons at the people on
Oh
the
yeah.
rafts and stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty cool little Port Hope.
We got to
Um,
get in on this because the last time I was in Port Hope, I have to admit there was a lot of Canada geese. Are you guys still at war with the Canada geese?
definitely down by the lake. Yeah,
Right?
there's a lot of Canada geese crossing the road and everything, and even down by the beach and all that. So yeah, for sure.
Trinka 83 asks, because I know you interviewed with a lot of teams. Your agent Dan was telling me just a list, a laundry list, and obviously Toronto showed a lot of interest. Sorry. Did you have an interview? Trinka wants to know, did you have an interview with Montreal pre-draft, and what was it like?
Yeah, so my first meeting with Montreal was over Zoom.
Oh yeah.
I probably did 1 to 2 Zoom meetings. That was like earlier mid-season, I'd say. And they were a little intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. Usually when I did Zoom meetings, it was 1 to 2 people on the call, and I think Montreal had
Just
about six or
they
seven.
just
So
show up with a full crew.
yeah, they were definitely covering all the bases there. And then when I went to the combine, I had another interview with them, and yeah, similarly, it was just as intimidating, if not more, with all the guys sitting in front of you there, and yeah, so it was a tough interview to read for sure. I didn't know that Montreal had as much interest in me as they apparently did. So they definitely held their cards close to their chest, as they did with the Slavkovsky pick and everything else to do with the 2022 draft. So
Did they
yeah, it
ask any
was
of those weird questions like the if there's an anaconda outside, what do you do? And it's like, man, you take a brick, you break the window, and you run away. Like what Did they ask any of those
uh,
abstract questions?
I, I think the one that I got was what kind of, if you were to be an animal like on and off the ice, what kind of animal would you be? Um, and I think I answered like a wolf, just kind of, doing my part to kind of,
Working a team, yeah, all right.
yeah, work in a team, be the best I can for the pack kind of thing.
Smart.
Um,
Smart. I like that because
yeah.
everyone says lion, but the lions are the most lazy animals in the world. That's a bad answer. You don't want lions. And let's be honest, their skating isn't great. Because do you get nervous in those questions? 'Cause I'll be honest, Owen, I might not be right here, but I think they're kind of useless overall. In the big, like, there's not much you can take out of that. Even though that was a good answer, do you get nervous when those questions come, or do you just let it fly?
Yeah, I mean to try and come up with an answer for that kind of question on the spot is
Right?
it's kind of tough and can definitely be intimidating. Like you obviously want to say the right thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know what they exactly get out of it, but they definitely have their reasons for asking it. So that's something I guess I'll never understand, but they do. So
Who knows what, but they did get great value there. Now, we were talking at one point at the beginning of the year what you wanted to accomplish this year. You said you wanted to go on a Memorial Cup run with Mississauga. Obviously, there was that big trade. You're still, very friendly with them. Now that shifts to Peterborough. Let's talk about that World Juniors because you said it would be a dream come true. Now, I don't know if people know how difficult it is to crack that roster if you're not a legacy player. And by legacy player, I mean a guy that got invited to Team Canada camps forever. You, Owen, you got invited to what, the selection camp this summer, and that was probably the first time Hockey Canada ever called you?
yeah, aside from the U17 virtual camp due to COVID, that was the first Hockey Canada event I attended.
So it's incredibly difficult to crack that roster at that point. What were you doing when you got that call when they're like, "Hey, by the way, we might need you in Halifax"? Like, were you sitting by the phone waiting, or were you just kind of trying to not think about it?
Yeah, that would have been New Year's Eve.
Oh,
And
were you
I
drinking?
rem I remember watching the game, and I was with a couple of my teammates, and we saw Doc go down, and so I was kind of on the phone with my agent a little bit, just texting back and forth, and he said, nothing's guaranteed, but just keep your phone by you in case. And not much later, my GM called me, and he said, Hockey Canada called me.
Wow.
You're going to be going to play for them in Halifax, and I just couldn't believe him. I was super excited, and then to make it all real, James Boyd called me not long after that as well, and told me that what JR was telling me was true, and I was going to be on the next flight out to Halifax the very next morning. So I didn't get a lot of sleep that night, but I was more than excited to get out to Halifax and represent my country.
Winning a gold medal, sitting there with the flag going up, like what's going through your mind at that point when you're getting, and you're surrounded by all these great players, national anthems going. What's going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, it was just such a crazy feeling. It's something that you dream about as a kid, and for you to be there and standing on the ice and
Hmm.
with a gold medal around your neck and watching the flag being risen with the national anthem is unbelievable, and truly a dream come true. I was actually at the 2018 World Juniors when they won it in Buffalo, and
Oh yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I was watching. I was in the stands there when they beat Sweden, and I remember watching that exact same ceremony, and just for that to happen to me, 5 years later is is pretty crazy. So yeah, it's definitely almost inexplicable, what the feeling was like, but just just a dream come true.
And that was such a good team because they were getting, I know everyone's talking about Connor Bedell, who's he's okay, like he's okay at hockey, but there was talent throughout that team, right? It really felt like you guys kind of hit another level there in terms of, I mean, I know you were late to the mix, but how was the vibe in the locker room for Team Canada?
Yeah, everybody was really just dialed in. We all had a goal in mind, and everybody was willing to play their role to accomplish it. So, nobody was putting themselves in front of the team, and that was just such a huge part of the success of that team. And it all worked out for the best in the end. So, it was a really good environment in the locker room.
You told me at one point your first impression of Martin St. Louis at Dev Camp was that he's a great motivator. Like you'd run through a wall for this guy. Now that you've actually been under him for a coach, like he's coached you for a game, what's your second impression of Martin St. Louis as a bench boss?
Yeah, I mean, it stays the same from the motivation aspect, and just seeing kind of the systems that he runs, and all the knowledge that he has for the game. It really shows you what a great hockey mind he was, and
Mm-hmm.
how successful of a coach he very well could be in the NHL. So, I think I think he's done a really good job in his time in Montreal, and I think that's going to continue for some years down the road here.
Well, you can't say no to a guy that worked his way up from waiver claim to Hart Trophy, right? To like he's won everything that's ever had to be, but he's a guy that commands respect, right? Like he doesn't demand it from you. Everyone kind of just stands at attention when Martin St. Louis talks, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Like as you mentioned, just the path that he's had
Mm-hmm.
to the NHL and had to throughout his career is it's very impressive, and guys definitely respect him for that. And as a coach, none of that respect is lost. So yeah, it's he's definitely a guy that the players respect, and are willing to you know uh
Just go
willing
nuts.
to
You have to.
to play hard for, and like you said, just run through a wall for us. So
Jeez.
um
It's
yeah.
it's it's always fun to see, especially with him. You can tell he's developing too. So it's always fun to have a little bit of a different coach involved with it. Not a recycled coach. But that's not what we're going to talk about now. First thing I do need to do is that I always forget because I'm a million years old. YouTube and the internets did not exist when I was younger. So you got to like the stream, you got to subscribe, or else Steve Dangle is going to stop paying my electricity bill. Okay, so make sure to like and subscribe to the stream. And we have a question here from Daffy Productions, who asks, "What song do you listen to get pumped up, to get jacked up? Are you a guy who has the I was gonna say the iPod, but that's not a thing anymore. But are you listening to your own music, or are you listening to the locker room music?
Generally I listen to the locker room music, and I'm not too picky
Like you don't
about
care, right? Yeah, you're not one of those that obsesses over
yeah.
the music.
Yeah, no, I usually just like as long as there's a good mix of, maybe what everybody likes, I'm not too picky. I can usually get dialed in and pumped up to pretty much anything. So, yeah, I've never been a guy who listens to one particular song before a game to get fired up.
James asks, and this is a good one. What do you think your greatest strength is? Because when I look at you, Owen, it's kind of a well-rounded skill set. I don't really see weaknesses, but what would be your greatest strength, and what in opposite, what do you need to work on to make it successful in the NHL?
Yeah, I'd say my hockey IQ and my 200-foot game would be my
Yeah.
greatest strength that that has gotten me to where I am at this point in my career. And I think that like you said, my skill set's pretty well rounded. So I think just everything as a whole needs to, get elevated to that next level in order to be a full-time player in the NHL.
So let's. Oh, and we have a question from Kay here, which we'll get into in just one moment. What's your mentality like going into next year? Because let's be honest, the Mississauga Steelheads wouldn't have traded you if they, well, maybe not, but I'm assuming if they knew 100% you're back next year. There's that other side of it, Owen. By them trading you, they're more or less saying, like, we think you might have a chance to make the NHL. So let's say everything goes well. We're not overlooking Peterborough, but everything goes well there. What kind of mindset do you have coming to Montreal Canadiens camp next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mindset would just be that I can definitely belong in Montreal and hold a spot for the regular season. And I think just trying to work my way into into some kind of role with the Habs would be just my mindset going in. I really want to make that dream of mine a full-time reality. And I don't think I can discredit discredit myself going in, and and not counting myself out, I suppose. As a guy who technically has another year of eligibility
Yeah.
in the OHL.
Well, that's right. You can never overlook it. And actually, I have a question about if you do come back. But in the meantime, because the other day we started naming every Habs player and what dog they would be, and for some reason the fans really love that. So if you were a dog, Owen, what kind of dog would you be? Would you be? There's poodle, there's husky, there's Rottweiler, there's a lot of
Yeah,
dogs out there. What kind of dog would you be?
I would probably say probably like something like a black lab or something.
Yeah.
Just I have a dog who's a mix between like a black lab and a border collie, and she's very kind of tame, I suppose. I think I'm a pretty calm individual, and don't get too riled up too often. So I think I guess we used the word stoic earlier for
Yeah.
to describe Nick Suzuki, and I'd say I'm probably pretty similar, personality wise. So that would probably be my answer. I'd probably say something like a lab.
Yeah, and you play well with kids too, so it works out just like the lab. You're great with kids. Okay,
Yeah.
this is a good one from Hugh McGuire because since the Canadians have kind of changed everything up, they brought him Adam Nicholas, who by the way had great things to say to you when I caught up to him after Dev Camp. There's Francis Bouillon, Rob Ramage. There's a lot of guys involved in development. So how often do the Habs interact with you during your season? Like are you getting emails or getting calls? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm quite often getting calls from player development staff. I talked to Rob Ramage uh less than a week ago, I'd say.
Oh.
I uh I spoke with Nick Carrier, who came to one of my games,
Mhm.
actually our game against Windsor this past Thursday, and so I've spoken with him. Adam Nicholas sends me a lot of video work, and we jump on a call here and there, and we talk about my game. We talk about other people's games and things I can take from that, and implement it into my game and all that. And they're just really invested into their prospects, and trying to help them out as much as they can to make it to the next level.
Who talks more, me or Adam?
I got to give it to Adam. He's probably
Yes.
got the most energy in person that I've ever seen.
But
So.
he says stuff when he talks. That's the difference between him and I, right? Have you ever? Sometimes I have to stop when I'm listening and kind of process what he's saying. But man, he has just such a great hockey mind for what needs to be done, right? It's pretty easy to kind of understand what he's saying, right? It seems complicated on the surface, but it gets through to players.
Yeah, no, his hockey mind is incredible. It's definitely one of the better ones I've ran into, and I've learned a lot from my time at camp with Montreal, and my time on the ice with Adam, and as I mentioned, watching video with him, I take a lot out of that stuff, and try and implement it in my game. So he's definitely been able to help me a lot over this season.
It's for those that have followed the Canadians for a while, it's such a reversal for the Canadians to be doing this, and it's so encouraging. Okay, there's one thing I wanted to ask about last year. How scary is Arber Xhekaj? Because I swear this guy could. Okay, first of all, he's really nice. I mean, you met him in Buffalo. This guy's like a gentle giant in person, but man, he's scary on the ice, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like the living embodiment of a guy you love to play with, but a guy you hate to play against.
Right?
Yeah, I think they Hamilton picked up him and McTavish at the deadline, and I would argue that he was the bigger piece for that team in the long run.
And he was great for them.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, he was amazing. Yeah, no, like everybody hated to play against him. I've never seen a guy, um, have as much of a presence on the ice as he does. Everybody keeps their head up and keeps their head on a bit more of a swivel when he's on the ice, because you never know when he's gonna catch a hold of you and make you pay. So
Right,
he was
and just
definitely
steal your
something
soul.
that,
He's just gonna steal your soul
yeah,
on the ice, and there's
exactly.
nothing you can do
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Drink
and
up one.
along
Oh,
with that,
go ahead,
you can
sorry.
play the game as well.
Well, that's the other
Yeah,
part. I
along.
mean, I was actually talking to your agent about it, and I was saying there's some good. This is right at the start of the year, and there's some good stories. There was you, and there was Arber, and I was telling him like I feel like an idiot because I'll be honest, Owen. I said, hey man, this guy is not gonna make it in the NHL. I was wrong. Surprise, surprise. I was. It wasn't that I doubted him. It's just I didn't think he had that skill set beyond the fighting. But Arber Xhekaj can play some solid hockey. Like I mean, it's
Yeah.
great. It's great that we all got it wrong. But this is a guy that I almost want him to fight a little bit less because of his hockey skills. Like you've seen him, play solid hockey, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, well, like we were talking about, I played against him, and
Was he
well, he
dirty?
actually
Was he
was the one
dirty
that
when you were playing? Like, was he giving you the lumber?
a little bit, it was part of his game, and it worked. It definitely intimidated the opponent, but he was actually the one that put my team out of the playoffs last year. We took them to overtime in Game 4, and with I think less than a minute into overtime, he ended it and sent us packing. So
Did he bring that up
it
at
was
in Buffalo?
we've definitely spoke about it.
Yeah.
At one point, it was probably in camp, yeah, because he would have been hurt when I got called up, but or no, he would have been still playing. So yeah, it was one of the times we've talked about it. And he's definitely mentioned it, and had his bragging rights. So
Right. And what are you gonna do
it was
even if
a
he doesn't
funny story.
deserve the bragging rights? What are you gonna do with Arber
Well,
Xhekaj?
exactly, right. And yeah, I'm just happy that I'm on his side now. So
Yeah. Right.
that's yeah, a relief for
It,
me.
for those that weren't paying attention in Buffalo, I think he kind of announced himself to the world and I mean, like, you don't want to see that happen, but when he stole Messicut's soul in Buffalo with that fight, geez, that was kind of him announcing, like, I'm here to stay. And his, as good as your stories, man, Owen, I think Arber's story, going undrafted and making your debut straight from the OHL to the NHL is almost unheard of as a defenseman. So, a fantastic story with Arber Xhekaj.
Yeah.
All right. Paper Dolls Kay is back. She wants to know, what is something you admire in the game of one of the current Habs, so one of the current centers. So whether it's Nick Suzuki, you have Jake Evans, you have Dvorak, you have Drouin, Kirby Doc was there at one point. What's something that you see in their skill set that you'd like to bring to your game or that you admire?
Yeah, I think my most comparable player on or center on the Habs would be Nick Suzuki.
Yeah,
So
yeah, big time.
I'm really impressed by his 200-foot game, and especially his hockey IQ. He's such a smart player, and plays a very simple game, but it works for him because he's so smart. So just always making the right decisions, and really watching to see what he does night in and night out is something that I try and take, and use it to simplify my game, and generally that works for the best for me.
I find one of the best comparables for him is not necessarily how he's scoring. Obviously, that's important, but the stuff he does, the little stuff that doesn't show up on the scoreboard, is stuff I see in your game as well. Just the right decision making and controlling the flow in the neutral zone, opening up passing lanes, creating time and space for his opponents. So that I really do like. I really do like that comparison. Okay, Noah wants to know, what career would you have pursued? Because you're a smart guy. You're a really smart guy. And, you're pretty good at hockey. But if not, what would you have been? What would have been like an ideal job for you? No sports, just a normal job.
Yeah, I've gotten this question quite a bit, and there's never been one set answer, but I think it would be something along the lines of, in the field of medicine.
Okay.
I've thought of, I've thought about anesthesiology at one point.
Hey, that's a good job. You
Thought,
get paid good money. There's not a lot of them, and it's a great job.
yeah, yeah, great money. And actually, it all kind of stems back to when I got my wisdom teeth removed. That was the first time I was ever actually put under anesthetic, and
Okay.
I was so fascinated by it that I knew I wanted to go into something in medicine, and I kind of that that experience kind of pushed me in the direction towards anesthesiology. So I think that if I wasn't playing hockey and wasn't trying to make a living out of it, I would probably be trying to pursue that.
So instead of making people happy at a rink, you'd be making people feel really good about themselves right before they conk out and go under surgery. Okay, let's talk about that draft, because there was talk about you maybe going in the first, and then when Toronto lined up, because let's be honest, and we can admit it now, it's public, Toronto showed a lot of interest in you. You're an Ontario native. And they had that draft the pick right about where you were available. So let's relive that real quick. How did you feel that you had to wait for a whole extra day, even though you were the first on day 2? And how did it feel to not go there? What was it, 26 or whatnot?
Yeah, I remember it. It was. I think when that pick came up, everybody in my family kind of was holding their breath.
Right? Your father was a Leafs fan.
Yeah, he was. He was a very big Leafs fan from the time he was a kid, and yeah, so he was definitely holding his breath. But that passed up, and I believe they traded away that pick.
It was to make cap space, I
And
think, for it was Peter Mrazek. It was to make cap space.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they traded that pick away, and then I think after that there wasn't too much hope for me in the first round, just based on what teams had picks and what kind of what kind of interviews and interest they showed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was on in the next day, and
Because you have to sleep on it then, right? Like that whole night where
yeah,
you just kind of like, oh man.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the draft order, and I wasn't sure where I was going to end up. As I mentioned earlier with Montreal's interview, I couldn't get a read on whether or not they had interest in me. And so yeah, I was kind of looking up and down. I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going to end up. I think the Leafs' next pick was 38, so I was thinking, I probably won't get past there, but there are a couple other, wild cards that could swoop me up. And then, I was still busy trying to get, Wi-Fi on my phone from the Bell Center, because Rogers was shut down that day. And
Oh yeah, there was no. I remember that we couldn't buy anything.
yeah,
There wasn't. That was a chaotic day. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so, so I was sitting there trying to get Wi-Fi on my phone, and Montreal was up, and kind of just, I wanted to listen, obviously. So I passed my phone off to someone else and said, hey, can you deal with this? And next thing I know, I hear, from the Mississauga Steelheads, Owen Beck, and my brother was the first one to jump up and go nuts. And yeah, everything after that kind of, has slipped my mind. And, I guess, as they say, the rest is history. So,
Yeah, well, it was meant to
yeah,
be. It was meant to be. It's not just you came up and you trained in Montreal, and I mean, even on your way to the draft, wasn't there something like you were in a cab with your grandma or something, and then you pulled out some French?
oh yeah, no, I was on, we took an Uber to the Bell Center
Okay.
from our hotel on day one, and it was myself, my girlfriend, my brother, and my mom, I think. And
Hmm.
I don't think our Uber driver spoke any English, so I had to use what I remembered from my elementary school French immersion to tell us to tell him where we should be dropped off. So
That's just perfect.
yeah,
That's
yeah, exactly. No, it
yeah,
was,
meant to be.
and I
Meant to
remember.
be.
Yeah, I remember there's so many little connections to Montreal, before the draft, that kind of all lined up pretty well. Like, for example, when I was in high school in Mississauga,
Hmm.
on doing online, um, I didn't want to graduate there because I didn't have any friends, because I was all online, and um, because of COVID, and so I graduated from my home school out of Coburg, and I had never met the principal of the school because it had changed since I last been there.
That's weird, eh?
And
Yeah.
when I shook his hand, he said to me, I guess he knew that I was going to be drafted the very next week, and he just said to me, "Go Habs, go." That's the only thing he said,
Really?
and I was caught off guard by it. I was like, okay, I've never talked to this guy in my life, and uh, so yeah, he just said, "Go Habs, go," and then a week later, I was drafted by the Habs. So
The time
I was,
traveler
I was,
using his opportunity to spoil what you're gonna be drafted for. That, yeah, I
yeah,
absolutely love that. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
mean, I could go on and on about little coincidences I found,
Hmm.
relating myself in Montreal and the draft, but I won't bother with
We have
that
a whole
for the.
career to talk about that in the future. Okay, James Mahoney asked here, and this is a good question because we talk about prospects and you're all on the same team, but you're all kind of competing with yourself with each other. Do you pay attention to the centers in the system? Do you pay attention to how they're doing, or do you just kind of mind your own business and you'll prove your own thing when time comes?
Yeah, no, I kind of just focus on my own game. I've always, I've played against a lot of um, people that I know, and we talk about each other's games after per se, and they're always like, what'd you think of me? And I have to tell them I honestly don't know because I don't watch other people when I play.
You're
So
like, sorry, bud, I don't watch your
yeah,
videos.
I, yeah, no, I just focus on myself, especially when I'm in a game. So I mean, if I'm catching another game here and there, and there's a Montreal game prospect playing. Like tonight, I watched Mississauga and Ottawa, and Vinny Rohrer was playing for
Did he
Ottawa.
have a good
So
game?
I'll keep an eye on him. He did. I think he had 2 assists, if I'm not wrong.
Ooh.
And yeah, so I keep an eye on guys like that when I watch them play, and I'm not playing. But
Mhm.
other than that, I usually just try and focus on myself. So.
It's great news to hear that Roar is doing well because there was that rough injury, but he's such a lot like you, smart player, right? And that's always good when
Yeah.
you're a center. Um, okay, who was the guy that in the Habs locker room that maybe intimidated you going in? Because there weren't a ton of veterans going in, right? You weren't dealing with Carey Price or Shea Weber. Was there anyone that you're kind of afraid to approach or anything like that, or how was it when you first really kind of met up with some of the Habs?
In camp, do you mean,
Or no,
or
no, when you
in
actually got
Ottawa?
called up, I guess it wasn't that long ago. What, it's been about
Uh,
3 weeks now. Yeah. Who greets you first? Obviously, you went to the supper, but like, was there anyone that just kind of jumped up and said hi? Was there any kind of advice given by any of the current Habs players?
yeah, it would have been Suzuki that sent me the initial text and inviting me to dinner, and I probably would have been quite intimidated by a lot of the guys in that room just because I watched them a lot this season, on TV and all that. But yeah, no, they were all very welcoming, and that dinner kind of pushed all the nerves out of the way. And after that, I was kind of just felt like a part of the team, and everybody in the locker room was so welcoming and super kind and just willing to help. So yeah, it was a really good experience, and they helped me out a lot. And I guess during the game, I played with Dvorak most of the night, and I think he would be the guy that helped me out the most on the ice in terms of systems and whatnot, just
Mm.
making sure I knew what I was doing, whenever we had a face off or whatever. But yeah, so everybody was so helpful and very welcoming. So it was really good.
Okay, well, I guess your dad probably was okay with canceling that supper. And for those that don't know, Owen had to ditch his dad there. Dave, if you're watching, how's it going? To go to that supper. I need to know who paid for the supper.
With the Habs,
Yeah, tell me
like
Nick
with
picked
all,
up the check there,
yeah,
because I mean, listen, Nick's been picking up some big checks from the Habs. He can pick up a few of these. Yeah, who
yeah,
paid for it?
no,
Come on, we
it
gotta
was
know.
it was Suzuki that picked up the tab for us.
Okay,
It was
good. That's his
very
captain
captain-like of
duty.
him. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna uh, end this soon because I mean, Owen, you've been great. Thank you for giving us all your time, and everyone that's on the chat, make sure to link and subscribe. We had a question from Twitter, and they want to know: you're obviously a pretty quick player. How confident would you be in a race against your teammate Jr. Avon? Who's gonna win between you and Jr.?
Uh, if you asked me this when I just got to the team, I'd be a little bit more confident, but just watching the way he can use his speed and
No chance.
burn so many in this league, I think he's got me there.
If you could score on any goalie in the NHL historically, who would you want to try to score on?
Uh, it's a good question. Honestly, probably Carey Price. I think that'd
Yeah,
be
but he'd stone you.
cool.
He would. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, him or maybe Lundqvist would be the two from from my I guess childhood that I watched the most, and
Great
or that
goalies.
were, I guess, the two biggest standouts from my childhood. So I think one of those two would be pretty cool to score on.
And finally, if you could ideally play with any players, past or present, we can go all the way back to Doug Gilmour, Howie Morenz if we want. Who would be the ideal line mates that you would play with in the NHL?
Uh does it have to be wingers, or can it be
You can have Mario on your
as
wing
well?
if you want, like yeah, you could put centers on the
Yeah,
wing. That's fine.
here's the guy I was thinking about.
It was, yeah.
I think it'd be hard to argue against like
Right?
Gretzky and Lemieux, or
Gretzky, Beck,
um,
Lemieux, perfect line right there.
yeah,
But Mario has to take care of the
even
defensive stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
all right, we're gonna wrap this up right now, but we did want to thank you, honestly, Owen. We really appreciate it, and obviously everyone's watching your career with interest. You're lining up for a playoff run with the Pete. So tell me how that's going before we get going. Obviously, it took a little time to get adjusted now, but it seems like you guys are in a pretty good state of mind recently. I think it's 3 wins in a row now. Offense is picking up. How's it going with the Petes?
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely off to a slow start after the trade deadline. I think we have a lot of really talented players, and I think to for everybody to gel and get comfortable playing with each other took a little bit of time, but we've kind of settled in with some set lines now, and we're getting a little bit more chemistry, and yeah, we're actually on a 4-game winning streak now, so. I think that's things are turning around for us, and hopefully it's going to continue into March here and keep rolling into playoffs. So that would be ideal, and if that's the case, then things will be looking good.
How long until Port Hope becomes a Habs town? Because I know that's deep in Leafs territory, man. Like that's blue territory for a long time. But how long till Port Hope turns red?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of people who know my name now. So I mean,
Yeah, do you get like stopped when you go around town?
I haven't actually been back for enough time yet to fully experience it, but I'll see when I get on the golf course and whatnot this summer what that's like, and I'll make sure to let you know.
Perfect. Well, listen, we'd love to have you back, but in the meantime, good luck on the season. Great things are gonna happen. Obviously, Habs fans are really excited. You're so young and so talented. There's still so much ahead of you. So we appreciate you taking time on on our podcast, and also to everyone watching. Again, this is the 3rd time I mention it, so I don't have to mention it for 3 weeks anymore. You gotta like and subscribe, because that's what the YouTube overlords tell me to do. But in the meantime, we'll be back on, I believe Tuesday is our late game. We have Matt Drake and then Patrick Bexell, so our European prospect expert. We're going to talk about prospects over there. And we would like to thank you, Owen, for taking the time to join us. Honestly, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone in the chat. We appreciate all of you. Honestly, Habs fans are amazing, and they make this fun. So we really do appreciate all of you, and we will see you next time.
Game over! Powered by